Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me again for another episode of Spirit Spotlight here at We'll Drink for Travel TV. I am here with the lovely gentleman from Greenwood Whiskey. Would you guys introduce yourselves for me?
Sure. So my name is Shay Bailey. I'm the CFO and co-founder of Greenwood.
I'm James Roach. I'm 1/4 of Team Greenwood. I'm the CEO and the guy that's tackling the social media aspect of Greenwood.
I'm Sheldon Johns Harris. I'm the Chief Business Development Officer for Greenwood Whiskey, as well as the in-house attorney, as KG always calls me. Quaylen Gordon is missing. That's the CEO, Greenwood Whiskey. That's who I refer to as KG.
Nice. So tell me how you guys know each other. What's the relationship here?
Myself and James, we're roommates from college. Che and James went to high school together, so they're friends from high school. And Che and KG met through a work friend many moons ago, like about 15 years or so. So we've been kind of hanging out like a lot since then.
So tell me about Greenwood Whiskey and how the idea came about and what it means and why you named it Greenwood.
So the idea came about, as I just said, we hung out a lot. And, that entails a little bit of drinking and a lot of conversations about a myriad of different things. Some of those conversations might be, who's the best quarterback in the league. Some might be, what's going on in baseball today. But one of the recurring conversations we had was, what is it that we can do collectively to uplift ourselves and our families? For college educated men, we're intelligent, we have professions, we have our own sets of skills, and they're not the same. So there had to be something that we could do to put all our skills together to, work together and achieve a level of success. One idea was, buy like a FedEx route. That's one thing we thought about. We thought about drop shipping. We thought about a couple of different things. And then
Thought about that.
Yeah. And the list is long. It's not something that was just, one day, okay, let's do this. Like, we were talking about that for a while. We were thinking about it for a while. And then one day, I always give credit to KG. We hang out in my basement, and he kind of just burst in the basement and was like, I got it. And when he meant I got it, he meant I had the answer to the question that we've been asking ourselves for quite some time. So that's how we kind of came up with the idea. So then we started brainstorming and thought about, how we'd want to brand it, what we would, what goals we'd want to achieve or whatever. And we thought about Black Wall Street. We know the story of Black Wall Street. They were one of the most successful Black communities of their time. And we looked at that as inspiration. So we kind of wanted to emulate that. And we kind of wanted to kind of bring that to our community as well and try to inspire our community along the same lines. So Black Wall Street existed in the Tulsa, in the Greenwood District of Tulsa, Oklahoma. So that's where the name Greenwood came from.
And just for people who may not be familiar, can you share a little bit more about what Tulsa, Oklahoma looks like?
So like I said, when it was time for us to, we wanted to name our brand, like I said, Sheldon spoke on, we wanted it to be meaningful, impactful, something that spoke to who we are, who we want to be, who we used to be. And like I said, I just remember hearing about Black Wall Street. And honestly, I remember hearing it from hearing the game talk about it, the rapper Game. And then I was like, you know what, Black Wall Street. So let me do the research. And basically it was almost like 10 minutes of research, really, just to look and say, you know what, Greenwood, that's it. And then even stumbling on the Gap Band and Charlie Wilson, and Gap Band stands for, the GAP stands for Greenwood, Archer, and Pine. 3 streets that intersect with each other in that in the Tulsa district. So just seeing that, I was like, yeah, it was like, that's it. And and to speak to back then, it was over 600 businesses, Black owned, doctors, hotels, lawyers, I call it supermarket. I'm from New York, so supermarket. It was a self-sustaining community where the Black dollar stayed. I remember reading for almost 3 years. It was something like that, where now, if you read a story, it may say the Black dollar stays in our community for 6 hours. Back then, it was staying there for almost 3 years. So it was it just spoke to, I think, who we are. Like I said, we're educated, young, we're still young Black men. You know, it was perfect for us. It was a perfect name for what we're trying to build.
Tell me, like, what steps you took to get from an idea to a bottle to fruition and in the stores and on shelves and online.
So once we had the idea and once we actually digested it and realized that it was something that we actually could do, you know, we started talking about exactly what kind of liquor we would put out, right? So, I mean, of course, there was a lot of brainstorming sessions that went into it before we actually like physically like took some actions. But, you know, we settled on whiskey because, you know, we do enjoy cigars, some of us more than others, but, you know, we enjoy cigars. And so we thought that whiskey fit in well with cigars. So that's why we settled on whiskey. Then we started like kind of tasting different whiskeys to try to figure out like, you know, the palates and what we liked and what we didn't like and which direction we wanted to go. And then we started visiting distilleries.
So did you guys, since there are 4 of you and I have my Greenwood here, how did you guys decide on what the flavor profile would be? Like, was there arguments or you know, how did you guys sort of figure out what flavor profile you were going with?
More arguments than you can imagine.
Yeah, I'll say our palates vary. I'll admit, I'm more on the sweet side of stuff. I don't like it tasting like kerosene, as my term. So, and then, you know, my esteemed partner, Mr. Johns Harris, he could drink just about anything. So
we wanted to find a happy medium, right? So we wanted to something that, you know, we can sit down and drink straight, but we also wanted to be inclusive of the female consumer, right? Which, by the way, is the #1 growing whiskey consumer out there. So we wanted to do something that, you know, wasn't too sweet, right? Where the traditional whiskey drinkers wouldn't have a problem with. But then we also wanted to make it smooth enough to where we weren't turning off what we like to call newer whiskey drinkers. So it was, you know, a lot of samples, a lot of back and forth. You brought it up, a lot of arguments, but eventually we settled on the flavor profile that you have in front of you now.
Yeah, and I must say, I mean, I don't consider myself like a novice whiskey drinker, but I'm not like an expert either. I sort of consider myself like a middle of the road. And like, I didn't even bother to mix it because I wanted to taste like what the actual whiskey tasted like. And I can drink it on the rocks easily. So kudos to you guys for the recipe.
Good, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So what did your family and your friends say when you told them you were starting your own liquor brand? Like, I feel like it's such not an everyday occurrence. So what did they have to say?
So my wife, right, and I wish I could find her Facebook post and show it to you. But when we finally put bottles on the shelves, my wife made a Facebook post essentially saying that for 4 years, myself and my 3 friends have been in the basement drinking and loud talking and calling it business meetings. And apparently there was actually some sort of business meeting going on because there's a product on the shelf. So and up to that point, she was like, yeah, whatever, we'll see. And then it hit the shelf and like, you know, she's like, oh, wow. And I mean, and don't get me wrong, she's very supportive, but you know, when it came out, you know, what I've noticed actually along the way is that, you know, every step of the way, the closer you get to actually putting something out, the more people took you seriously, right? So up front, when, you know, I would speak to people and I might go to a liquor store and, you know, the people that I know in there, I'd bring it up to them. They'd be like, yeah, cool. If you need something, you know, give me a call. And you know, Che and James can attest to it. Like I would call and like nobody would answer me, right? And then I'd see them again and I'd say, hey, like, taste this for me. And they'd be like, oh, now they're starting to answer me because they're kind of like believing like you guys might actually do something. And then when we show up with a bottle and be like, yo, we're looking for a distributor right now. They're like, oh, wow, I know a guy. Maybe you should call this guy. And, you know, so, you know, it's the responses have been across the board, you know, but, you know, at this point, they're all great and everybody's supportive.
That's awesome. That was actually going to be my next question. Like, did you find that most of the people in your lives were supportive of your idea, at least at this point? Because I feel like, when you, as I mentioned, like you start out and people are like, okay, all right, God bless, but then as you start to really put, pen to paper and get your product on the shelves, it's like, oh, I don't know. I just feel like Black people, we tend to sort of do that. Like, we're like, okay, all right, girl, good luck. And then people, you really have to take yourself seriously. So, I mean, what did you guys have to like?
Well, I think that goes back to something James said earlier, right? Like the image we have in front of us, like the things that, are plenty in our communities, right, are like, like the t-shirts, the barbershops, the hair salons, and that kind of stuff. So when you bring something outside of the box, just like it took a little while for us to digest the idea of us doing it, it's going to take a little while for them to digest the idea of us doing it, right? And then as they see us moving forward, then that kind of helps with the process. So it's never been that they weren't supportive. It's just like, really? Okay. Right. And when they see us doing it, it's like, oh, what you want? And I mean, there's a lot of people that, as soon as they were able to buy something, they were like, where can I get it? I don't want a free bottle. I'm going to buy it from you. Like, I want to give you that support, I
mean, the entire process is a grind, right? We literally came up with this idea in 2018, and there are significant barriers to entry. I think as, to stay with the family and friends and what their support was, I think as they saw us fighting through a lot of these obstacles, their confidence started to grow with ours, right? So it's, okay, oh, you guys got your registration here. You guys got your liquor license here. So, oh, you guys got a distributor. So as we start taking those steps, it's almost like a snowball that starts, building momentum downhill. And I think, to be quite frank, I think all of the conversations that we have amongst each other, which are a lot, we still have our, the people that are in our household that we sort of lean on too, so it's the support has been real, and it's been much appreciated.
Just jump in quickly and say, what I do notice is especially now that it's on the shelf, a sense of pride in our families. Mm-hmm. And especially like my mother asked me every time I speak to her, every time she asked me, hey, how's Greenwood doing? My friends, they like, I can see that like, they're like, wow, these cats did it. Like, I'm proud of them. So I do feel that, and that's kind of inspiration to keep going.
That was actually going to be my question. Like, have you found that you have inspired the people in your lives, or like even people on social media? Have they reached out to you and said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Like, do you have any advice for me?
Yeah, I actually spoke to a young lady, my wife's friend's sister, if you follow that, actually hit me up and was like, hey, I'm going to speak to James because I want to do my own wine. And, with whiskey and wine, it's two different things. But I just, it's like, just that was like, okay, let me at least what I do know, because there were some obstacles that we went through that if we'd like almost had like a big brother take us through it, it'd have been a little smoother process, before, and it took us so long to get out onto retail. So, and then even as we jumped into business, realizing there's a lot more Black owned brands than we knew. Especially maybe me, I'll speak for myself, So that was inspiration too. Like, oh man, wait a second, there's a lot more, and there's a couple of, that we've been in contact with, built relationship with, that has been instrumental in our success so far, the success that we've had so far. So, I mean.
Yeah.
And because James just said that, I do want to say that, like, I want to say every Black owned brand that we've come across has been supportive. I've gotten calls on my phone from random phone numbers, and it's like, hey, this is X, I'm the owner of this brand. I just want to say, I see you guys out there, y'all putting in that work, and just know if you ever need something, if you need me, holler at me. This is my number, give me a call. And this is out of the blue. Like, I barely knew this brand was Black. You know what I mean? And it, so like, we've gotten a great deal of support. you know, from the other Black-owned brands. So I really do appreciate all of them.
That's actually really great to hear, especially for people who might have questions for you, people who want to start their own brands. And actually, Jason from Guidance Whiskey was like, you got to talk to the guys from Greenwood. You got to talk to them. I'm like, Jason, I'm on it. Like, I got it. Like, you know,
Jason is one of the people I'm speaking about too.
Yeah, I would say Jason is a friend of the family.
Yeah.
Look, I've never seen that guy, and I got a lot of love for that guy. I've never seen him in person. I've only spoken to him on the phone, but like, shout out to Jason.
So as Black men, that's actually really great to hear that you guys are so supportive of each other, especially as Black men. Have you found that, you know, since the killing of George Floyd last summer, that there has been sort of like a focus on Black-owned spirits, and how do you feel about that?
So when we hit shelves in October in Tulsa and November in Atlanta, right? So these are the first 2 times that we were out on market. So we can't really say that we've seen a difference as far as our business is concerned. But when that happened, we were, you know, we've got some people in the business that we were consulting and bouncing ideas off and trying to figure out which direction we should go. And what they told us was, right now with the climate of the country, like, basically go all the way Black and lean in, right? Because that is what, I guess for a better way to put it, that's what's marketable right now, right? So there are a lot of people that appeals to because of that climate. So, I mean, you know, we'll see how long it will last, or if it's still around or whatever, but it gave us the opportunity to just, you know, be ourselves. Like we thought about, we honestly did think about, like we were keeping the name, but we thought about ways that we could market it differently, just so that we could appeal to everybody, so to speak. But you know, the advice we got was just go ahead and be you, be genuine and be you, and you'll be fine. This market right now is ready for you.
The thing is, we have a good product, so it's not like we selling something, quote unquote, we selling garbage out there. We have a great product. So we can pivot if need be, but you know, truthfully, I would say, do we have to pivot even if we're not getting the love, you know, from the outside community? We have over $1 trillion of spending in this country, so we have money. And alcohol is recession proof.
As we have seen.
Yeah, I've been unemployed and been out and been in bars every day. So somehow I found money for alcohol, even when I was unemployed. So, you know, we're speaking to our people, but if there's an outside community, I think they would enjoy it just because it's a great product.
It is, and that's actually something that I've really found to be an interesting conversation as I've talked to Black spirit owners. It's like, you know, people want to support Black-owned businesses, you know, that's the time we're in, but also these are actually really good products. Like, despite who, or, you know, even, I don't want to say despite, but, you know, even knowing who owns them, like they're actually just good products that people should support. And that's the narrative that I wish, you know, was out there. Like, this is it's good whiskey. Like, it's good whiskey, and it just happens to be Black owned.
In certain stores, and there's a couple here that we, 3 of us live close to, they're starting to create special areas. Like, you know, one of the more prominent liquor stores out here has a section called Chocolate City. You know, all Black owned brands in that area.
I need to know how I feel about that.
So they start. So, you know, they see the writing on the wall. They see the wave, and they're trying to catch it.
Yeah, I need to marinate on that because I'm not sure how I feel. Especially
What's your thoughts?
City.
Well, look, I went to school in DC, and you know, I mean, that's Chocolate City 1, and I'm in Atlanta, and you know,
yeah,
Chocolate City. Well, I don't know who's 1 or 2 anymore, so I'm not trying to get into arguments.
Definitely not that anymore.
But when I was there, it was Chocolate City. That's what it was called.
It's still Chocolate City to my heart. I don't know what's going on there anymore, but
it looks different. I mean, I went to school in DC too. I live in Baltimore, so I'm there often. it's looking a little different, y'all. It's looking a little gentrified over there.
That's everywhere. We're all from, us three of us are all from New York, Queens, and 2 Bronx natives, and there's, Brooklyn, Harlem, certain Bronx is going through it now. I'm not sure what area Queens are, but it's happening everywhere.
Yeah. So getting back to Greenwood, what is there any advice that you would give someone who wanted to start their own brand? Like anything you would have done differently?
Research.
Research.
I would say research and find somebody that can coach you, because being that it's alcohol and it's so federally regulated, there's a lot of red tape and stuff. Like there's stuff that, again, I spoke to earlier about that pitfalls that we went through that we probably, if we'd had a little bit more guidance, we'd not had those issues. Tell us something simple like, hey, I got to pay, you got to pay taxes on that label, right? Oh, we do? Yeah. That way it's not happening last minute. So so I would say definitely, and we hope we could be the people, segue that, okay, if somebody does say something, we could be like, listen, do this, did that, and you could be out in 6 months instead of 18 months because you keep having to take 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Not to make it too complicated, but like James said, exactly, research, find a mentor, and then really the bottom line is, take the risk. You have to jump out and you have to push forward. So many great dreams and ideas die just because, people, it seems unattainable, right? So you have 4 Black guys in Atlanta coming up with a whiskey dedicated to Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? So sometimes you just gotta say, we'll keep it clean, but just go do it. Just do it.
What is your the goal of Greenwood? Like, is it to create generational wealth for you and your families? Do you want to, grow it to a certain level to eventually sell? Like, what is your end goal with it?
I mean, those original discussions did entail, like, how are we gonna, like I said, like uplift ourselves, and basically it was like create generational wealth, So, like they say with skyscrapers, you got to be able to bend but don't break. So, that's the goal. And how we get there, there's many different options, ideally, well, I won't even say that, but I mean, I would love to be able to stay in it for the long game, and, 20 years down the line, I want to take Hennessy's customers, man. Like, I want to go hard and I want to be in this thing. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
I love it.
We definitely have, one of our goals, I'll tell, is to definitely have our own distillery. So we've been, or maybe I be driving around and looking. Maybe I don't know if my partners do. I'll be driving and I see a location that I think is perfect. I'm like, yeah, that could be our distillery right there. So I'm looking right now, and for a place, that's definitely, we have there's a company out here that inspired us, and we've been to their distillery, and they just opened up one in the West End. They have another one coming up out here by where the Braves play, and that's inspiring to us. Like, yeah, these cats did it, and we've spoken to them on numerous occasions. Like, we could do this too. So I know distilleries is definitely distillery in Atlanta, and I would say in Tulsa, Oklahoma would definitely be something I would like to see for the company.
So where can people find Greenwood Whiskey?
Right now, we retail in Georgia and the state of Oklahoma. We are available online in 40 states. The 10 unfortunate states, I don't know off the top of my head. And right now, I think the focus is to dominate Atlanta, which is our home base for us, and then continue as we see fit to venture out into other states. We do have some other stuff, some other deals on the table that possibly where it might get us into other states within the next few months. We definitely want to be in Maryland. I tell you that. That's definitely one on our top 3 states, next states to venture into.
Yeah, I mean, outside of Atlanta,
PG County, and yeah.
How do you suggest people getting more Black-owned spirits in Greenwood onto their shelves and into more stores?
before we even went on this venture, I've had a few different liquor store owners, workers, whoever, tell me straight up, like, if you ever see something out there that you want, let me know and I'll get it for you, right? So that's the easiest and first thing that anyone should do. So if they feel like they want to get Greenwood whiskey or guidance or whatever it is, go to somebody that works at that store or the owner of that store and say, look, I want to get, how can I get this liquor? I see it. Like I've gone into one of the liquor stores close to me, and he's like, man, a guy came before we were out. A guy came in here and he had your picture from online, and he said, I want to get this in here, right? And he told me directly because he knew, like, because I know him. And so, like, word gets back when you do it that way. So that's the first thing I would say, because they're in the business of selling liquor. So if you want it, they'll find it.
Okay, so where can people find Greenwood? It's greenwoodwhiskey.com, and then
greenwoodwhiskey.com. You shop online there. Like I said, to 40 states. We're on IG and Facebook at Greenwood. All the locations are on our website. That's where you can find us.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I'll have to catch up with the CEO another time, maybe the next time I'm in Atlanta. I'll hit up you guys and toast with some Greenwood.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love it.
Definitely. When you get it with your friends, take some pictures and stuff. Send it to us. Like I said, we love getting pictures back of people, trying the brand, from people. That's definitely, a beautiful thing to see.
I sure will, just because I love your brand. I love what y'all are doing. Y'all shout me out. Y'all help me with my list of over 120 Black-owned spirits. So I'm definitely all about it. I'm a Greenwood fan from now on. It's like anybody who I talk to and I love their story, love their energy, I'm go hard for it. So happy to add you guys to that list now.